Good morning. Today is Monday, April 21st, 2025. I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story. For this week, we're going to be talking about temperatures trending warmer, shots of colder air still possible out there. Got some spotty showers and flurries to talk about this week, but we're still mostly on the outside of the active North American storm track looking in, with heavier precipitation south and east of the prairies over the next 10 days. Now getting it started here Monday morning, taking a look at the infrared satellite picture, we've got a couple things to look at. Most notably, we've got a really classic springtime storm system here lifting across parts of the Central Plains, through the Midwest, and now into the Great Lakes. We talked about the potential of this one bringing some precipitation to eastern parts of the prairie, bringing some light rain and some light snow kind of wrapping around the backside, the north side of this storm system. This is the classic look that we want to see here this spring. We just want to bring some of these storms a little bit further west and north, so that big precipitation shield is, again, located over the prairies and not over Ontario or the Great Lakes, where many of these storms have been over the last couple of weeks, and unfortunately where much of the activity will continue to be over the next 10 days. Again, this is very seasonally appropriate. We just want to kind of watch for this storm track to lift north and west over the next several weeks as we get through the end of April into the beginning of May. Again, looking at the radar here early Monday morning, heaviest precipitation across southern portions of Ontario. We do have some light rain and snow showers ongoing across other portions of the prairie, though, back across Alberta, Saskatchewan, and southern portions of Manitoba. None of this heavy, but some folks seeing some raindrops and some snowflakes here to get the day started. Temperatures this morning generally on the mild side, anywhere from 2 to 7 degrees above zero here, a bit cooler where we have some of that precipitation ongoing. You can find some temperatures close to freezing, if not a couple of degrees below freezing, in southeastern portions of Saskatchewan, far southern Alberta, and then northern portions of the prairie provinces as well. Precipitation over the next couple of days will be scattered and light. We'll run this through again Thursday afternoon with the high resolution NAM model. Let's bring it back again through the day today, through the night, and then into Tuesday. Again, look for some snow here, kind of light in nature along and south of Highway 16, maybe mixing with some rain or some sleet at times before this one pulls away from the region Tuesday into Wednesday. Could see some lingering snowflakes or raindrops here during the day on Wednesday, but generally trending toward higher pressure and quieter conditions, clearing skies as we get toward the back half of the week. Total precipitation by type over the next 4 days, so this takes us through Thursday, April 24th. Again, just some light rain and some snow showers, maybe finding some pockets of heavier precipitation, getting into that maybe 10 to 20 millimeter range here in some locations, but a lot of folks really between that 5 to 15, 5 to 10 millimeter range over the next week. Again, some pockets of heavier precipitation. A lot of folks along and south of Highway 16 here in that 5 to 10, 5 to 15 millimeter range. Certainly some people are going to overachieve, though, and get into that 10 to 20, 15 to 25 millimeter range, especially across southern and southeastern portions of Saskatchewan into southwestern Manitoba. Zooming out, looking at the next 10 days, unfortunately not a lot in the way of change. We do have additional chances for light precipitation, but the heavier moisture, the more organized storm track, again, stays south and east of the prairie provinces through the next 10 days or so. Again, this is not climatologically unusual, but we just want to continue to watch this storm track and watch for it to creep north and west as we head later on into the spring season. So here's what's going on with the jet stream. Let's bring it on back here to Monday morning. Again, here is the kind of northern branch and then the southern branch, our subtropical branch and then the polar branch of the jet stream here. They continue to be rather active as we head into the last week of April. Bit of reorganizing going on right now, but you see this streak of faster winds coming in across the Pacific. That will link up with the subtropical jet stream as we get to the end of this week into the weekend. We get a more well-defined trough across the southwestern U.S. This will fuel the development of one or more storm system once again across the prairie, which should lift into the Great Lakes. Probably going to take a very similar track to the storms we've seen over the last week or two. That's why, again, the heavier precipitation focused across areas south and east of the prairie proper. But this is the active spring pattern that we look for every year, that we want to continue to see run on into May and then lift north and west as it does so. So we can run this out. Again, here's your next kind of burst of storm system activity across North America. It's probably going to be centered on the coming weekend, April 25th through April 28th and 29th, associated with this trough. Again, much of it south of the prairie. We would then wait for the pattern to reset, watch for our next run of moisture to come in, next run of flow from the Pacific Ocean, probably during the back half of the first week of May, and that would be our next opportunity for more in the way of organized storm systems and precipitation across the prairie. So unfortunately, a bit of a waiting game here across the prairie, but that is not uncommon this time of year. Again, just looking at this in terms of our height patterns, our height anomalies, here's the troughing that's got these spotty showers in the area here to get the week started, but you see higher pressure sneaking in as we get toward the weekend. Here's the next big trough that comes in across the western U.S. This will spawn, again, the development of one or more storm systems that we'll be talking about when we meet again next Monday morning. This one comes in here. This is April 27th, April 28th, 29th. We get ridging on the backside. You see that quieter, warmer weather. So again, as you miss out on these storms that come in every 2 to 3 days, then you get drier, warmer weather on the backside. So it kind of prolongs the dryness here if you miss out. So I'm just, setting expectations here. You're probably going to miss out on much of what comes over the coming weekend. We'll run this drier pattern in general on into the first week of May, and then we'll start taking a look for some of these next disturbances to make their way into the prairie, potentially bringing more in the way of organized precipitation. Temperatures, again, going to be trending warmer here. Not quite as volatile as the last couple of weeks, but we still have the potential for some of those colder shots of air to sneak in here. So this is not an open runway into the summertime, but temperatures in general are going to be trending a bit warmer here as we head into the next 7 to 10 days. Models, as we looked a week ago, did a good job of handling the storm system here that is ongoing, but we're a little bit farther west with it in their forecast. So what I'm showing you here on the left and the right is the European forecast and the European AI forecast system here. Their forecast from a week ago when we talked on April 7th for Monday, when we talked on April 14th, the forecast for today, April 21st. Again, that area of low pressure that's lifting into the Great Lakes, parts of southern Ontario today. Weather forecast models last week had a good handle on the storm system existing, but they were placing it a little bit too far to the west, bringing some of that heavy precipitation into parts of central and southern Manitoba, and then far eastern portions of Saskatchewan. Again, that's not what happened today. The storm is a little bit further east. So as we take a look at the forecast for next week, this is getting into the April 27th to 28th timeframe. Not really seeing a real big, robust storm system being forecast here, but you're starting to see that shower and thunderstorm activity returning to the plains, southern portions of the prairie here. And this is that next window that we'll be looking at for another run of storm systems. Again, my gut says much of the activity in the last few days of April, the first couple days of May, sneaks off to the south of the prairie, but still the chance for some spotty precipitation across the region during that run of storm system activity in late April. Again, though, zooming out, looking at this in a more broad sense, the probability of picking up 1 inch or more of total precipitation between today and May 1st, getting these months messed up here as we transition. But the next 10 days here, taking us through the last 10 days of May. Again, the deeper red color, that's going to be your higher probability of picking up that inch of rain, and you see it further south and east of the prairie. Across the prairie proper, not a real good shot of that. We're talking about anywhere from 0 to maybe 40% chance of that 1 inch of moisture, and the higher chances further east into portions of Manitoba, where you have that slightly better chance of picking up on some of this moisture from the storms running south and east of the region. Those temperatures, though, again, trending warmer. Highs only in the middle single digits today. They'll be in the mid-teens to near 20 degrees in some areas as we get into the weekend and next week. Again, 19 for the high on Friday as forecast right now in Edmonton. Saskatoon, you'll be up to that 15 to 17 degree range Thursday through the weekend. Very similar look here in Regina. Again, a bit cooler with the storm system in the area right now. A little shot of cooler air in some areas here in the central and eastern parts of the prairies over the next couple of days before we trend warmer heading on into the weekend. So I'll talk to you again next Monday. That'll be April 28th, potentially talking about an increase in precipitation chances as we head into the first 5 to 10 days of the month of May.